Hey, this is Natalie Kalbeck, and I'm here with my super dear friend, Elena Zazanis. I'm super, super excited to have her. She is not only a real, dear friend, who is always super, super supportive of me and my artwork and everything I do, but she's also a cook. But she's also super, super talented and creative, and she's an actor or actress. That would be the right English word. She's an actress. She's a writer. She has played in off-Broadway plays. She will tell us a little bit more about it. She has played in indie films. She wrote, produced, directed and starred in her short film called The Red Gucci Bag, which I absolutely love. And she also sings in a wonderful a cappella quartet for wonderful women. And then she also, she does you do a million things. It's just like, I don't even know how you do it. But she founded this incubator, I think it's called, for the art house, which is here in Jersey City, where they help developing scripts for writers and actors. So it's like this whole group, and a lot of Elena's work is also bringing people together and helping them to develop their skills and just coming together, work and get something productive and great out. So that's just the tip of the iceberg. But hi, Elena, how are you?
Hi. Oh, it's so funny that you mentioned the tip of the iceberg. I was just journaling about that this morning. I was just saying, if we as artists can really communicate the tip of the iceberg that we are, and that someone else sees it and it resonates with their iceberg, that's really the connection, right? I mean, that isn't it?
It totally is, and I don't know if I think if some of you have seen some of the older interviews, I have been mentioning that I've been in this roundtable during this lockdown time, which actually was organized by Elena. And the funny thing is, I'm the only so far fine artist kind of person in there. Most of you guys are writers and actors, and in the beginning I was like, what am I going to do there? But it has been so unbelievable, like the creativity of that group and talking about creativity and how everyone copes with that time and what we're working on has been so inspiring. And I think this was a huge part that inspired me to actually this interview series. So thank you, Elena, for that.
That's so wonderful to hear. You know, it's funny, you mentioned the incubator. And I actually no longer run that program. I started it, but other people have since taken over, and I kind of was very grateful to have had the experience and equally grateful to pass on the torch. But I did feel at this time of COVID, I was longing for something different than just reading scripts, something that we could really use as a platform to connect about our feelings about living like this, and then, check in and have a little bit of accountability without necessarily even showing what we've done in the past week or, reading it, but just really, cheering each other on, and it's kind of been helpful for me, be able to really talk about my feelings and really be inspired by other artists. I mean, that's always when I'm writing a story or a song, I oftentimes will go to a museum to be fed. We want to be fed as artists.
Right. Elena, what would your typical week or day look like before COVID, if there is a typical day for you?
So, I mean, of course, it's never typical, but I can say that before COVID, my day job, if you will, is I'm a staff actor at Fordham Law School, where I simulate a lot of different witnesses and anything from a victim to a perpetrator to I've even played other lawyers. I, do all these different roles so that the law students can practice interviewing and cross-examining and examining and questioning and all that. So before this all happened, there were a number of trials and interviews on the schedule and were taped in their special videotaping chambers in the law school. And for about 2 weeks, it all came to a screeching halt. Nobody knew what was going to happen. And then fortunately, the university was quick to adapt and put us all on Zoom, and we were able to finish out the semester without really losing much work. So I was very fortunate. It just ended last week. I had my last trial last week. But what was also very routine was rehearsing with my a cappella group, auditioning, meeting with collaborators, or potential producers, and having generals and stuff, and all of that came to a screeching halt. Now I'm having meetings on Zoom. There's self-tape auditions, and I think that that had already been going on for a number of years, but I think this is going to permanently put into place the taped audition for a great deal more of our work than we did before.
Wow.
Yeah, and which is good. It saves a lot of time and money. It's expensive to get yourself where you need to be, and it's time, and it's just a lot of it's a lot of time and effort and some expense for a sales call.
Yeah.
So I think that so that is something that changed and will now be a permanent change. Unfortunately, as everyone knows, a lot of productions that were in progress were halted, and we don't know what's going to come back. And I was, I have a couple of short films ready to go, and I don't know when I'm going to be able to do that. Contrary to intuition, I think a lot of the big projects are going to take longer to come back than little ones, because I might have a crew of 12 people, whereas if you've got a crew of hundreds of people, that's more complicated, and I think that's going to take longer to necessitate. But I don't know. I'm not going to lie. I feel a little apprehensive about getting close to people until we have some protocols in place where there's tests and
right.
and more and more, to be honest, Natalie. I really am much more interested in creating my own work. And I love to do theater, and I love to work on other people's projects too. But I haven't been as motivated to chase the sort of that elusive stardom as I have been just to make art and collaborate with other creators. So I think right now I kind of switched gears, and I actually this week have been working on a script that is actually intended to be filmed on Zoom, it's a nurse. The characters are a nurse, and I'm actually not the nurse. I usually write for myself, but in this particular piece, it's a nurse and her husband, and the nurse can't go home because she's staying in some hotel room where they have her because she's working in a hospital in Queens, and she and her husband have to contend with communicating on Zoom, and a lot of things come up about in this thing that I just sort of started writing, but it's poured out pretty quickly. So, and you know how that is. When you're full of something, that just go on the canvas by itself almost.
Right. Yes. So that and it makes sense because you have all these influences, and that's what's happening right now. So it kind of feeds where else. Otherwise, you go outside and you go to a museum or whatever to get your a little spark in there. But now this is a lot of what we're seeing, so it makes total sense. How do you? So I love your right. The red Gucci bag was such a wonderful short too, and I love how you're writing. But like in general, and maybe also in this time, how do you research things, or how do you? I mean, the storyline probably is kind of like that's there, I assume, but you can tell me if not. Like you have an idea for the storyline, but then there are all these things that you might not. Like you're not a nurse and you don't know 100% of how everything goes. How do you go about to write all around that storyline so that it all is not read by someone and they're like, that's not how things works, right?
Right. No, of course. Right. So I mean, there's all kinds of really cool ways that you can, there's like a million rabbit holes, right? And you can read about being a nurse, careers in nursing. You can look at that. You can look at interviews right now. There are abundant, interviews online of, healthcare workers contending with COVID and heartbreaking stories. And I mean, this particular thing that I'm working on, it's part of a 3 storyline concept, sort of like the hours, because the stories will be interwoven, but they're happening at different times. The first happens in Byzantium with Justinian and Theodora.
Oh, yeah.
And the next one is a suffragist in Britain. And the next one is this nurse now and COVID times. And so they're all times of plague. And they're all about how women were affected, and it's a kind of a quasi-feminist perspective on plague. And, I think that when you look at the majority of the healthcare workers and the people being worst affected by this particular pandemic financially are women.
Yeah.
So I really want to put a magnifying glass on that. But anyway, to answer your question, I mean, I also look at other plays and movies and television shows that look at, let's say, I'll look at everything. I'll like poke into everything and see what works and what doesn't work and how I can appropriate from it and make it fresh, make it relevant. Yeah, I mean, it can be tedious, and you have to kiss a lot of frogs, to find the Prince Charmings, and but then you find them and you're like really excited, and it kind of just works, But the most important thing though is the story, and I don't know how it relates to painting.
Yeah,
like I imagine you could have all these like great paints and brushes and tools and materials and stuff, but ultimately it's either the narrative on the page or the subject on the page and the scale, right, that are I'm making assumptions here, but that's like ultimately the story is the goal.
Right. Well, I think what I always have to be careful, for example, when I do my research in a way for the paintings for the buildings, right? There are buildings in our neighborhood, and then I research what the history about that neighborhood or the buildings are. I always have to remind myself to not fall into that rabbit hole of not ending the research, because it's like kind of like, I mean, that you want to paint that building, and at the end of the day, you will be the only one who knows the stories that are behind it, and the viewer will make their own story, right? So you do not need to hunt in terms of procrastinating for the next like golden apple in that. You just have to go and start doing your thing.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And it's very easy to use, well, I didn't do enough research as an excuse. But then again, if you don't feel authentic,
Right,
That's never gonna work.
Right.
So I've had that. There's another script I'm working about, which is like post-apocalyptic, which is a little weird to be working on right now.
Yeah.
It's like a little bit like too close, but anyway, I was like, I need to do more research, and I was doing all this research about this plasma physics, and I was, and I finally just like, fuck it, I'm going to just do this work, and I'm just going to write this story. I have the story in my mind. I love the story, and I was making great progress, but put it down for a little while and came back to it, and I was like, nope, you know what? This is I'm being lazy here now. Usually I do err on the other side, but I'm being lazy here. I need to go back and this has to be full of, authenticity.
Right.
It has to be real. It can't, otherwise it's just going to be like anyone's going to come along and poke a hole in it.
Yeah.
Anyone with a, high school has a high school class in physics. So, it's both sides, right? You have to find that razor's edge.
So that is so true. And actually, here's my question. In the beginning, you mentioned that you were just writing about the tip of the iceberg in your journal. Is that a way how you get ready for your day right now to get into writing, that you write a journal, or is that always something you do to set yourself up for the day? Like I do art journaling before I actually paint on canvas most of the days, to just get over that fear of, a blank canvas. And I guess writers call it a blank page.
Yeah, blank page.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Yes.
It's like not a fun thing to look at. That's true. But yeah, so I did a thing called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, who is Martin Scorsese's ex-wife, by the way.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And here we are in my studio. I'm going to this is my Artist's Way. As you can see, it is extremely
loved.
It's used. Yes, it's loved. It is. So yeah, I keep it right there at my fingertips. And I've done that about, 3.5 times. I like to do it with someone else usually. So that is the morning pages are the recommendation of, that is like the fundamental foundation of The Artist's Way, is to write 3 pages every morning. And it's got to be handwritten, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like, we were talking about this at Roundtable, I feel like an alcoholic when I don't do that. Or an addict, I feel like I've fallen off the wagon when I don't do it. And when I do it, it's not only good for anything I'm pursuing, whether it's an audition, writing something, or even just my sense of self at home and managing my time. It's a way of purging what's like not sitting right. Mm-hmm. It's a way of just cleaning out and putting, there's this graphic of like getting what's in your mind. Like there's this concepts in your mind. And, but when you actually go to put them on that blank page, as clear as it is in your mind, which is like the iceberg, right? Like it's impossible to get all of it on the page, and curating what goes on the page is like so hard, and it's like sometimes it's a really distant approximation. And so I think the morning pages is like an exercise to help you. It's like exercise, like rehearsal, like vocalization. I'm a singer, but you can't go stand up and sing if you haven't kept your voice in shape. Right. Maybe when you're 10 years old you can. Right. But like you can't, like you have to warm up and like an athlete, right? Right. It's the same thing. It's like you gotta really have the wheels oiled.
Right.
So I think that's what that does for me. And I think that when I don't do it, it's not a good thing. You know, I try to work out. I really like, my husband and I are doing yoga every day at 7 p.m. and it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I do bar classes online, and that has been a wonderful thing about COVID. You know, I asked about before and after COVID. I think I work out more now. So I do it in the privacy of my own home with a live online trainer with other people on Zoom. So, you know, you're in. Anyway, there's the working out, there's the vocalization, there's the morning pages, and then there's like just my general, you know, routine. And it gets disrupted, but a lot.
Yeah.
You can get back if you have like some good spiritual, you know, foundations.
Yeah, that's true. And I think also having that ritual that kind of, as you said, it's your warming up ritual to kind of like, you know, start the day. And if you do that all the time, if you don't do that, you just can't start. You like, that's, of course it's missing because you kind of, I'm missing the word right now, but I'm doing this, I have this app, it's called the tapping solution that I just...
the tapping solution?
Yeah, and it's like a meditation thing that I heard about on a podcast. But what it does, it's like, you know, for getting into a creative mood, or if you have sleep problems or you have breathing problems or whatever, you're anxious, there's all kinds of little exercises. But what you do is you say certain things and you always tap on certain areas why you set yourself up for these sayings, and, you know, but it's always the same. So what they say is different, and how they repeat it, and you kind of like rate how you feel, and, you know, before and after. But the routine of that tapping is the same. And I think, conditioning, that's what I was looking for. So I think like you're condition yourself so that if I do that, if I start the tapping, no matter what it is about, right, that I want to like get out of the way for it, or, you know, I condition my body already that when I do this, my body knows now it's time to kind of breathe and come down and let loose of all the whatever it is. And so the morning routine, of course, or like the writing with the artist way, or the art journaling for me, or whatever that ritual is to say you condition yourself, and then it's like, yeah, you have to do it, otherwise you're not there, you're not stretching.
Exactly. I mean, you know, I should be way more successful than I am for all this work that I put in. But I will say this, I'm really happy. Like, I really love what I do. I wouldn't want to do anything else. And I'm really lucky that I get to do this work that I love, like, you know, a lot, you know, and I feel like that is, you know, I think that conditioning that you're saying is an important part of that, because I do think there is something about, you know, like they say, luck is when preparedness, you know, luck is the residue of design. It's when opportunity meets preparedness. I mean, I think that you have to ask.
Right.
But you have to be ready when it delivers.
Exactly, yes.
You know, you got to, like, you can ask, but if you're not ready,
right,
it comes along, it's, you know, it's going to leave and it's not going to visit again for a while.
Right, exactly.
You're ready.
Right, exactly. You screwed that up. It's funny, I read, I'm still reading it. I read Jerry Saltz, who is an art critique. He just brought out a book, Life as an Artist, or How to Be an Artist, or something like that. Sorry, Jerry, there you go. But I read something interesting this morning to the point that you had earlier. And he said, how do you measure success as an artist? And he said something so, I read it this morning and I was like, holy crap, you know. And he said, measure success by also that you have time to do what you want to do. Like, a lot of artists have to, you know, we all have to make a living. And so we do a lot of things that have to do with what we do. Like you do the, all kinds of stuff for so that you'll be able to actually also write, but you have to make a living somehow. I do all the teaching and, other crafty stuff and licensing, which I love to do, but, my heart really in an artist way is in painting. So, but some people, some artists, they have to work so much that they barely have time to actually do their own artwork. And he said that if you be able to make that, I make a living and then get the time for 3 days, for example, a week to do what you love, you were successful because you made time. Time is what should be a big measurement of success. And I was like, holy shit, I never thought of that. It's so true.
Yes, because I don't know what it is, but artists are the last people to put value on their time.
Right.
Like assign a monetary value to their time. And time is money. There is absolutely no question about it.
Right.
I certainly spent a lot of years working for free. As most, I don't know any actor who hasn't done the free plays, the free readings, the free independent films, work for free. And in fact, when you work for free, you actually cost money. You got to go there. You want to look good. You're gonna make sure your hair is cut, and you're gonna maybe even buy that new shirt or whatever for that play or something, right? Or whatever it is, it's going to cost you money. When you work for free, it costs you.
Right.
But so you pay your dues. You do pay your dues, but then once you build that cred, and you start getting paid and you start joining unions and having that kind of protection, which is really good because they also make sure that working conditions are, I have been asked before, when I started, I was asked to go change behind a sparsely populated wardrobe rack.
Nice.
Like in a mixed environment, like I'm not going to go take my clothes off over there.
Right. Right.
I don't do that for free.
That's not part of what I signed up for here.
But I think, time is money. And I think it takes us I think maybe we know that when we start, but then we have to forget it because we're just trying to build audience, right? And so, and craft.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I've now you're half, because time is important, but I still want to ask you about the wonderful a cappella group, which I don't even know if I said the name already. If I didn't, it's time now. It's Cabaret Sauvignon.
Oh, no, don't go. Oh, no, don't work today. Why don't you stay? In bed and play. We'll binge on TV. Indulge every craving. Bathe in verbena. Drink wine we've been saving. Never, don't leave me. It's your touch that keeps me alive and inspired when I feel defeated. Oh, you fill my empty and you give me reason. It's your love that saves me from all of my demons.
Tell me a little bit about how this now works, because you used to meet at least also once a week, I think, to practice together, and then you had all these performances. What is happening with you ladies right now?
Well, so it's, we actually, this was a lucrative season for us that, no one in the group has this as their, primary career. It's a side gig for everybody. It started as a hobby. It started as something that was never even going to be. It was just going to be for fun, and actually, it turned into something that was a little more professional than that. But anyway, so we, during this time of year, there are a lot of proposals, engagement parties, weddings, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, anniversary parties, openings, gallery openings, outdoor festivals, wine bar events. Just in the spring, things really start happening, and we are often called to perform. And we obviously have no bookings for nothing. So which is fine. The problem though is that we can't rehearse. Everybody is trying to be very observant of the social distancing, and also it's dangerous. I mean, it's dangerous. We can't wear masks and 10 feet apart and sing. Like, it's not going to happen. So fortunately, I found this app called Jam Kazam, which I for the first time, it was pesky to implement, but I got it set up, and I tested it with a friend of mine who's actually not in the group, and it works. So we're good.
So you're practicing now.
And you need a Thunderbolt adapter, which, that's the only expense that maybe we'll have to go to if everybody, I don't know if everybody has an adapter for the Ethernet cable, because this program eliminates latency, the delay,
Which is so interesting that you say that. I had and we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I had this other interview with Wes Mingus, who is a musician, and he also teaches. That's how he makes most of his living. And he said it was so hard. It's so hard for him due to that time lag.
Wes Mingus, what a name for a musician.
Isn't it, right?
Wow. Fantastic name. I love it.
I should bring you guys together actually one time. I think maybe there's a fit, because he does samples and stuff for movies and all kinds of
I'd love to meet him. That'd be great.
Yeah, I think actually now that I think you're like candidates to totally introduce. He's fun too. So, but that's a side note.
I think that you're putting together such an incredibly interesting group of people. I feel so honored and, like, humbled, and I think you're a good friend to let me be in your circle there. But.
No, I think it was. I always and I think that the viewers will think the same. Like, I've got so much out of this talk again, and I always have. When you're always very inspiring, but like it's relatable when you're a creative person, even if you're not a writer or an actress. Like, it's very relatable, and you have a very good way to put things just like that. Finally, you can kind of grab it, and before it was just like floating around. And so I think it's going to be very inspiring for many people to listen to that. And if not, then go away. I can't wait. I'm not going to edit this out. This kind of stuff. No. So Elena, thank you so much for this. This was wonderful. But tell us, where can we find you when we want to see more of you, your band, and
So I have to thank you, because this interview it prompted me to update a little bit my website. If you go to elenazazanis.com, or if you go to Gem Prods LLC, Gem Productions LLC, you will find a lot of information about the films, the acapella group. You'll find my IMDb page. You'll find a lot of what I do right there. There's a you and I, of course, have this common interest in gentrification. So, so I made a website for the Red Gucci bag, which is really set in, rapidly gentrifying Jersey City, and this young artist is just so devastated by, the increasingly impossible plausibility of living in Jersey City any longer. He lashes out at this woman with a red Gucci bag, and so that has its own website, and you can see a clip of it.
Uh-oh, I need lipstick. Hey, has anyone seen a little red bag? Has anyone seen my little red Gucci bag? You guys, Jack gave it to me for Valentine's Day last year. It's got a serpentine clasp, my little red bag.
The full film is on Vimeo. I can send you that link as well.
Very awesome. I'm sure people can't wait to see it. And thank you so much, Elena. Have a wonderful day. I cannot wait. I mean, I see you and we talk like quite often, but I can't wait to see you in person. And
I know, me too.
I know. Soon it will happen.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Natalie.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great rest of the day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.